Okay, how's it going, everybody? Good night, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're going to tune in. My name is Noah, and to my this side
Yeah,
is my new co-host for the
Daivon.
show, Daivon.
Nice to meet everybody.
Yeah. If you want to know some more about him, you can visit his YouTube channel, which is called Speak Up. The way that I had to type it in, I had to say "Speak Up Falcons" because he's not the first thing that comes up,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because there's like a lot of music videos that do that. Uh, we got some early birds here. Delayed J, for someone that says delayed J, you came in rather early for us.
Early.
So congratulations for that. Um, Normally we start the stream like an hour and a half later than this, but we had to get some
Yeah.
things up and ready to go. So that's why we're probably gonna have a little bit more of a crowd right now. So I'm gonna do my part as the middleman that I am right now in order to introduce you guys to Davon. So I'm going to ask him a couple of questions before, as until we get our fantasy Q&As up and running. And yes, for those that are wondering, I am still doing the drink every time I am asked a question challenge. So we'll see how this one goes when I have company. Okay. So, Davon, for you, my first question. How
Mm.
long have you been a fan of the Falcons?
So I originally was a Virginia Tech fan. So pretty much as soon as Michael Vick stuck foot on the Falcons, that's when I became a fan. Been here through it all pretty much. Well, that I remember. I wasn't there for the 1997 Broncos game, but you know that one was bad.
Ooh, yeah, I wasn't born yet. I was
Yeah.
I was born in '99,
All
so
right, man.
just missed it.
97 for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just turned 22 yesterday, but everything was overshadowed because Pitts turned 21 yesterday. It feels weird knowing that I'm
Pitt's
like
birthday,
300. It feels weird
bro.
knowing that I'm like 366 days older than Kyle Pitts, and I don't
Uh,
look or feel like it at all.
Bro, imagine
It was just
I'm 3 years older than him, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's just crazy to think about,
some people just. It's all about parents and genetics, man. That's all I'm saying.
bro. 6'6". Jesus, that boy's there.
Okay, so you've been there. Uh, to answer my own question, I've been a fan since 2007.
Oh, okay.
That bad
Oh,
year. That was my
yeah.
first year of watching the Falcons, and I stuck to it ever since because loyalty meant something to me. You know,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
what's going
so
on, Jet Life 420? If the conversation is strictly Falcons fantasy football, best advice is start CP. Bro, I've been saying that after week 2.
bro, that's
All
all I
right,
know.
I've listened back to some of my streams because I'm trying to do like this whole like review and seeing like where I went right and where I went wrong, and I
Mhm.
was right with him. And if you guys paid attention to the week one or like the week one stream before week one started, I said that Derek Carr was going to be a good quarterback for you in fantasy. All right, so
What was on it? Boy, Derek Carr,
wait a
man.
minute. Pitts is getting better each week. Ridley needs to step up, and so does Mike Davis. We're gonna get into that a little bit too. Uh, we're gonna see where this conversation takes us. Uh, J. Moore Russ says, I've been a Dirty Bird fan since '98. Chris Chandler was the starting quarterback. That's true. Steve DeBerg also started a game there too. Uh, I think it wasn't it against the Jets? I think he started a one game as like 44 and a half years old when it was against the Jets.
44.
He didn't really play that much, but or play that well. Um, so yeah, like when I was growing up, I was a big football fan.
Mhm.
Just a general football fan, but the first person that caught my interest was also Michael Vick. You know,
Yeah, that
as
boy was
when I
electric.
was, yeah, when I was growing up, I was the fast black kid that was left-handed. How am I not gonna
Yeah,
love him? You know.
gotta love him. Got to.
But I said this before. It was the entertainment value that made me a fan of a young age, but it was the success that Matt Ryan gave us that made me want to stay here. And like I
Really,
said, my first year of watching was 2007, so I've been through the highs and
right where
lows
I'm
too.
at. Hmm.
Daivon says, born in 91, born and raised in Dalton, Georgia. Been a fan since 98. Anderson doing the Dirty Bird dance. Yeah. There was a lot of fans that came into that year. There was also probably a larger number of fans that came in during the 91 season, because that one was also electric in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have some good years in the history, all right? And it's time for the NFL to really take note of that.
NFL, man, I can't watch these shows. NFL, they don't give the Falcons any credit, even when they are like on a winning streak. They just sorry, Falcons, whatever. We'll move on. I'm like, oh my goodness.
And you guys are in the West and the East Coast. Imagine how I am.
Oh, they probably don't get no credit,
bro. I'm in California, man. It is impossible to get anything Falcons related. No. I'm talking like merchandise too. Like there's nothing over here.
It seems crazy that Super Bowl year really didn't even get that much recognition, even though you're in the Super Bowl. But for other teams, like you feel like they're just covered, like the Chiefs, so much, and the Bucks. Like I'm just whatever.
I was like, yeah, they're good teams, but you got to understand, it's like everyone has their own ebbs and flows throughout the course of our years.
Yep.
Jetlag says, randomly, Keith Brooking is what made me the Falcons. If y'all remember him, I'm also a Georgia Tech fan, though. Yeah, I remember Keith Brooking, too. He was quite the thumper.
Mm-hmm. Hard hit.
I think he was also on that 98 season. I think he was also on the roster. Can't remember if it was like him. I don't know if he started. I don't know if it was like him and obviously Jesse Tuggle was there too, but yeah, maybe it was like I don't know. Maybe it was Chris Draft. That was someone else. Can't remember who was also starting. That bus says, living in the Bay Area, Cali since 2018, still rocking my red and black. Hey, I'm over here too. I never really moved away from California. I was born and raised here, so
dang. Imagine that.
He was on their 98 roster. He just didn't play that much because he was young. Yeah, okay. I knew he was drafted around that time. Okay. I'm going to put this back up like that. So that way people know that, hey, this is still a fantasy stream, even though we started a little bit earlier. So let's get those questions in. As that's happening, I'm still going to try to carry on a conversation. So, my follow-up question is kind of what we've been going on about. So my question to you, Daivon.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, this is not like a good or bad indication of like what you are as a fan. So would you be a fan if you were born outside of Georgia?
See, that's the thing. I'm originally from New York, and
okay,
it's just like the city of Atlanta, like that's why Michael Vick, and it was electric, and you can kind of see, it's different, but the Hawks, like how they were this year, and it's just like the fans, when they are there, they are passionate. But just looking at this team and just the players that's been through here, like Julio Jones and Deion Sanders, you got a whole bunch of electric people here. So it's definitely a good team, and I can see people rooting for them, even if they are outside of here,
Yeah. Jim Moore says, I feel your pain. I live in Indiana. Okay, and anything that's not Colts related here is easy to get your hands on. Chicago's Bears merchandise. I'm an eBay shopper. Yeah. Hey, you know what? It's surprising because there's a lot of I got to be careful with how I word this phrase, but I feel like there's the people that were born outside of Georgia tend to learn to, and hey, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've never been there, right? So I can only speak for an outsider's perspective, but a part of me feels like the people outside of the state of Georgia kind of appreciates the Falcons a little bit more. Than if you're inside the stadium, you can kind of take it a little bit for granted. Maybe you're starting to root for Georgia more. Maybe you're starting to root for like the Hawks or the Braves a little bit more if they're how they're successful. Like there's a passionate fan base to be had. Like hey, like take a look at your soccer team.
Atlanta United is crazy. So many fans here, and I didn't really realize there was that big of a soccer base in Georgia like that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's ridiculous.
So we got our first question, AJ Evans. What do you think I should start with? The brandy, the whiskey, or the Long Island iced tea?
Long Island iced tea, bro.
All right. There we go. I got a bigger cup than this because I like it so much. Okay, that was not a sip. That was more of a drink. Okay. Kirk Cousins or Joe Burrow? So let's take a look at these matchups. What are your thoughts on that so far?
Kirk Cousins and Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is having a better season than I thought he originally would, especially being on the Bengals and, rebuilding and stuff like that. Kirk Cousins I think he's underrated. I think I'm maybe in the minority in that as a quarterback.
No, I'm with you there too.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins that offense is just explosive when they want to be. I guess the Browns defense is really good, so I wouldn't expect that to happen every week.
Right. So I mean, you got Joe Burrow that's going up against Green Bay's defense, and then Green Bay's defense is without Jair Alexander right now. They're also without Zadarius Smith, but they're a type of team that can play, with that next man up mentality, even though that they don't have that notable person there. Like they are 3 tackles deep in that position, and they're still not having that much of a problem with pass protection against the Steelers, mind you.
Yeah.
So, and then with Kirk Cousins, he's up against Detroit. I like that matchup right now this week.
Yeah.
I don't mean to say it this bad and be a little disrespectful. I've kind of been harping on him, but the Lions made Justin Fields look good.
Bro.
What do you think? What do you think Kirk Cousins is going to do when he's got Adam Thielen, when he's got Justin Jefferson, when he's got a wholly healthy Dalvin Cook now?
Yeah, I like those odds.
Yeah. It was something that I try to get other people to pick up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Being from Georgia, it was just natural. You watch the Falcons, and sometimes you can have that mentality of, oh hey, I'm just gonna do it because my family's doing it or my friends are into that, so I got into the sport that way. For me, I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any family that was like encouraging me to be a Falcons fan. It was quite the opposite. So hey, but like I said, I kept doing it because it made me feel right knowing that I was able to stick to a team and not kind of jump around and be like the bandwagon fans that people just are so toxic about. I was born outside of Georgia. I've been a fan my entire life. Hey, there's a large community that are like from this. I'm in Florida. Good to know. Most people from Georgia I know aren't even Falcons fans. I know a lot of 49ers, Steelers, and Aints fans from and inside of Georgia. That is crazy. Okay, so the 49ers and Steelers fans I understand because, if you're like that championship kind of lover, you would go to those teams that have had that historically. They haven't really proven anything much lately, but come on, man. How you become an Aints fan inside Georgia?
Man, don't be no Saints fan in Georgia, man. Can't do that.
That's how you get shot. That's coming from me. All right. Should fantasy owners start Matt Ryan? Remember the Falcons play the Jets in London. All right. Okay, so question to you, brandy or whiskey? Brandy it is then.
What do you think about that match? That's an interesting because I know they didn't have, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, but the Jets defense looked hungry. I don't know, but they were just – how many sacks did they have? Was it 7?
7,
6?
yeah.
Like that? I don't know.
I'm starting to think that maybe Arthur Smith did a lot more to that offensive line than you think.
Yes, and you could see steady improvements even in the Falcons' offensive line. They're not the best in the league, but they're getting better every single week. And it's not like they're playing, bums of the NFL. They're playing top of the top. So
it's been like that every single week, and the fact that we have like contingency plans over at the starting positions. And, we had 43 or 40 some odd passing plays against Washington and only gave up 1 sack. And that 1 sack was kind of on Matt Ryan, if I'm being honest. But there was like 6 other quarterback hits. But other than that, they were not getting to him.
Plenty of time.
How many times have we been able to say that?
Man, if you would have said that at the beginning of the year, playing these teams, I would have said, oh, yeah, about 4 sacks a week, 5 sacks a week, easy. but
Bro, he would have looked
this
like
offense is
2002 David Carr.
yeah, ridiculous.
All right, so with this in mind, should we start Matt Ryan? I started him against Washington, and I felt good about that. And I had Aaron Rodgers as my backup.
Wow.
All right, so
See, he did amazing.
I'm
That was
still
smart.
sticking with that. I'm still sticking with Matt Ryan.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I don't really see the game script getting out of hand, you know, us having a 30-point lead and stuff like that. So I think it'll be good.
Eddie Evans says back then around 2015, I'm a Bama native. Okay. So somewhere in the South and a Bama player would help. Tennessee was dog awful. It narrowed down to the Saints, then Mark Ingram or the Falcons with Julio. Interesting. So you kind of had to choose either one. Well, you stuck with the good option.
Yeah.
All right. Max Murray says trading Cook for Thielen. Is that okay? Wait a minute. Is that Brandon Cooks or Dalvin Cook? I'm trying to figure out. Or Jared Cook? I'm trying to figure out what Cook is that, Max. Damian Williams and AJ Green, 12 teams PPR. I'm gonna dig into this whiskey a little bit.
Damian Williams should see a huge. Do you know how long that injury is? For Montgomery.
I know that he's not going to be starting, so
yeah, he's not starting.
I say take that opportunity because so it was Dalvin Cook. All right, so I'm going to take that opportunity there, but is it enough to give up Dalvin Cook for that though? Running backs are always hard to come by. Now I don't care what kind of team, I don't care what kind of league that you're in. You're saying 3 to 5 weeks at least. I know that the Bears are trying to be more run heavy, which is good for them because they need that balance for Justin Fields to be successful.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of what you're sacrificing in order for that risk. Because to get Thielen, Damian Williams, and AJ Green, Thielen can get you some good games in the red zone. AJ Green can get you a good game every now and then. But I feel like Cook is still a better option in terms of that. And I know that you're getting more players there. But are you giving up quality for quantity? What are your thoughts on that?
See, if it depends who his other running backs are. He said he has no receivers. AJ.
He's got Antonio and his cousin. Okay. In that PPR league too. Let's see.
Yeah. Who is his other running backs if he said that? Because Cook is, but if you give him up, he's gonna finish top 5 running back.
Oh yeah.
Fantasy. So, and receivers, you could kind of find them on the waiver wire sometimes if you're quick enough, or if you're early,
like just figure out like what's the thinner pool here to search for, and it's always going to be running backs. So don't give them up if you got good talent like that. AJ Evans says, how much do you trust Patrick Mahomes against the Bills defense? I have Kirk as a backup. Okay, well, going back to the rotation. Drink responsibly, by the way.
Yeah.
How much do I trust Patrick Mahomes against Buffalo? Man, it's hard to tell. Like, what do you think of the Dolphins this year?
Bro. The Dolphins.
Because they were shut out. I know that the Texans aren't much, but oh man. Because those are they have two get my fingers in the camera. There's 2 shutouts already in the first 4 games.
Sorry, excuse me 1 second.
Okay. But yeah, they can have those dominant defensive performances, but it's not like they have the core of. It's not that they have the quality of opponent to really boast about it. In my opinion, it's yeah, you're supposed to make the bad teams look bad, And I didn't think that the Dolphins are going to be that bad of a team right now. But, maybe you lose Tua and maybe you lose some of your stability in that. And with the Texans, yeah, there was no chance that they were going to be close in that game, even with the slow start that Josh Allen had. So with Patrick Mahomes coming into that building, or is it the other way around? Let me check. It's a Sunday night game at Kansas City. In primetime games, I'm taking Mahomes. Just because of the upside. I like Kirk, but Patrick Mahomes has that upside of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce that, Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen really hasn't rivaled yet. So, okay. All right, should I start Jalen Hurts or Kirk Cousins? Let's see. Go to the brandy. And green apple flavored anything in terms of alcohol is always such a good thing. All right. So who is the Eagles playing this week? They are playing the Panthers. Oh, boy. I knew that the Panthers are going to get a little bit unraveled, but I didn't think it was going to be that bad. So with Philly coming in to Carolina, you still have that chance of, okay, well, maybe Stephon Gilmore comes back and starts and then puts up a good performance against one of their top receivers, which would be Devontae Smith. I would kind of take that chance right there. Even if it's like an inexperienced Stephon Gilmore coming into the Panthers defense. But with Cousins, I know that he can have a better performance right now. He's going to have a get-back game against Detroit. So I'm going to take that chance right now. Kind of disappeared on us. So I don't know if you really heard. I don't know if you really heard, but got anything to add?
You were talking about the Panthers defense?
I was a little bit because he was talking about starting Hurts over Cousins.
Who's Hurts playing the Panthers, right?
Yeah.
See, it just kind of depends on game. What do you think game script is going to be? I think the Panthers, after what Dallas, for me, it was the strength of schedule. I didn't really think they played anybody. So, of course, the defense is going to look better than what they actually are. But the game script depends if you think that Dalvin Cook is going to have to carry the load and Alexander Madison, or how much they'll be up on Detroit. But I would personally say maybe honestly Hurts. Just because of the rushing ability and just the fact that the game script may be better.
All right. Well, how are we going to settle this? Because I was saying Cousins.
Why were you thinking Cousins? I know I stepped out.
Because they're playing Detroit.
True.
And they're playing Detroit at Minnesota.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and honestly, I kind of think that they're not really giving, Dalvin Cook, the full workload, maybe yet, especially depends what team he's playing and stuff like that. So if they have a chance to, take the ball out of his hands as much as possible, they would definitely do that.
Oh, yeah, because, for Minnesota right now, their pass kind of sets up the run instead.
Yeah, definitely. And play action.
So AJ Evans says, just keep Cook and find a receiver like Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers?
Jacoby Myers.
Has the guy had a touchdown yet?
Yeah.
I'm talking like ever. I don't think so.
Dang. That is a good question.
Let me give you a better receiver option. Last week I said Donovan Peoples-Jones, and he didn't really show up, but that was more Baker's fault than his fault. So if I'm gonna go to a power offense that likes to distribute the ball, that has a receiver that could be in the works that isn't really known, I'm taking a look at this Thursday night game. And Van Jefferson really intrigues me.
I like Van
because
Jefferson.
Matthew Stafford is going to have this type of performance where, yeah, he got blown out by the Cardinals, but he's going to have to learn those mistakes right now. And it's better that those games happen early on rather than later. That way you're not going to get unraveled in the playoffs. So can you get your mistakes fixed against Seattle? I really think you can, because Seattle's defense hasn't been able to stop much.
Not at all.
So I like the receiver options right now. And, you know, maybe Cooper Kupp isn't available, obviously. Maybe Robert Woods isn't available, obviously. Maybe someone already took Deshaun Jackson off the waiver wire. So the fourth option is still going to be a good option there. And I like Van Jefferson, you know, and I don't know, maybe you can think of someone else to try to like search for.
Who did I pick up on mine? I mean, Ronda Moore is not going to be available anymore. Even though I think what's weird about him is his weeks or that offense has so many weapons that it's like it's hard to get it on a consistent basis, you know?
Right, and I said that about AJ Green as well. Like, DeAndre Hopkins did not produce if you started him in that
he was in
game.
my lineup. He was in my lineup, and that's the reason why I lost, really. That offense, I can't really think of anybody right now that would really give you, you know. I would say, I know I'm a Falcons fan, but if Russell Gage can get, you know, if he's healthy and he's he has reliable hands, and I think Matt Ryan knows that. He's been with, you know, Matt Ryan for years now. So I think when he does come back, Matt Ryan may use him more than we think, because you know, the other receivers aren't reliable as far as hands go.
That might be more for down the road, though.
Yeah,
I think long term, Russell Gage would be a good solution. But if we're talking this week, let's see. Maybe a Raider.
Is Hunter Renfrow? Is he not picked up?
He probably is.
Yeah.
So my suggestion, man, would maybe be Bryan Edwards.
Yeah, Bryan Edwards is good.
So, I mean, all this is just going to show that Jacoby Myers is not the best option this week.
Nah,
I trust Jaguars receivers more than Jacoby Myers right now.
Yeah.
All in one show. What's going on? Traded Mahomes for Herbert and Hopkins. And he also threw in Jerry Jeudy because he desperately wanted him. What do you think? Well, I think I'm going to take in a little sip of this whiskey. So, what would you have to say about this?
Traded Mahomes for Herbert. Who's the one that just got injured? Wasn't that Jerry Jeudy, or am I thinking of somebody else? He did.
Hip.
Yeah.
I think it was like an ankle injury.
Yeah. I mean, if you get Herbert, I actually traded for Herbert too. You know, I think the potential for him to be a top 3 quarterback. So, I mean, you pretty much balance the trade right there. And to get Hopkins, yeah, he's inconsistent this year, and that offense has a lot of weapons. But, you know, Mahomes is always going to get his. I think just getting 2 for 1 in general is, you know, is good.
Yeah, I mentioned this last week. But if you get Mahomes for Herbert, that's not that much of a drop off. And the fact that you got someone else like that as good as Hopkins.
Yeah.
you got a legitimate quarterback one that you can start every single week, outside of the bye week, of course, and then you got a legitimate number 1 receiver that you can trust in too. So that's a good type of trade. I don't know why that Jerry Jeudy was the tipping point, but
he's like, I want Jerry Jeudy. Like, he got injured.
You're going to get the corpse of Jerry Jeudy. Anyways, AJ Evans says most points they gave up in a season was 23 to Pittsburgh and 21 to Washington. Yeah, we're talking about the Bills' defense.
Man, jeez, the Bills' defense this year is something else.
That's
and they do play Mahomes, so I mean, the Chiefs.
That's a fantastic litmus test if you're the Bills defense. If you can shut down Mahomes in Kansas City,
you are legit.
Hey, Bills, we did it.
Yeah, we did.
It can be done.
Come on,
we did it with no coaches.
Yeah, that
Like, hey, no disrespect to Jeff Ulbrich and Raheem Morris, but they were the interim.
interim. Yeah.
Joey says, need 2 wide receivers this week. I got Robert Woods, Todd Boyd, Marvin Jones, Cortland Sutton, and Laviska Shenault. Well, let's see. I pick one, you pick one. How about that?
Okay.
I'll let you go first.
Okay. First question, though, I don't have it in front of me. Who are the Broncos playing this week?
The Broncos are going to face the Steelers at Pittsburgh.
Okay. I think Cortland Sutton is underrated just because Bridgewater does throw the ball down the field, and like we just pointed out, Jerry Jeudy got hurt, so I think Cortland Sutton is going to pick up a lot of targets, and he also has used deep routes, so I think he's a good candidate for this week. And the Steelers can jump out ahead, so the game script kind of matches that as well. But I can see that. I like Cortland Sutton.
Yeah. I said this before too. Like, Robert Woods has never really failed me in fantasy. Like, I've drafted them the last couple of years, and he's always done just. He always has a high floor.
Yeah, he does.
And I know that last week wasn't that much of a showing, but that whole offense was to blame for that too. Like, it wasn't just on Robert Woods. If they can get back to doing what they've done best in the past couple of years, which was that pre-motion, that sweep to him. Like, if they utilize him in that manner, that was his bread and butter.
It really was.
And I don't really know why that they're like going away from that because of Stafford.
Yeah. Kupp is getting, I think it's an outrageous amount of targets through 4 weeks.
Yeah. Dirty Birdie says Juju, Claypool, or Renfro from the Raiders.
That Steelers wide receiver room is hard to pinpoint besides Deontay Johnson, which one's going to consistently get used.
I don't really know what the question is. Like, is this a trade or is this start one?
Yeah.
If this is a start one, I can't really count on a Steelers receivers this year.
No.
Okay, so this is your flex. All right. Renfro is going up against Chicago. Chicago still has some decent pieces in the secondary. But the thing about Renfro is that he's got the pleasure of not having to be the number one guy right now. He's got the pleasure of being that safety valve, for Derek Carr, instead of having to be the number one guy that draws the number one attention. Like, that's all going to be Darren Waller first. So if you can get him the quick targets like that, like Derek Carr has been throwing a bunch, right? And the passing yards show for it too. So I'd say feed off the hot hand, because Big Ben's not going to do it for you. He's been too busy trying to force the ball to Najee Harris to a fault.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then
honestly, expected way more from that Steelers wide receiver room this year because Ben Roethlisberger is supposed to throw the ball. It's like the most high pass offense in the league, but his arm really isn't like it used to be. Getting the ball down the field, like you said, a whole bunch of dump offs to Najee Harris.
Yeah,
and Deontay Johnson for that fact.
I can't tell if that's like a scheme thing or if the scheme was a predicate of his arm. Of like his confidence.
Me either, honestly. I don't know. I thought Juju was going to step up and be that number one receiver, but he never really has.
Yeah. I remember a friend of mine before the season started, he made his draft and he went up to me and was like, all right, so what do you think of this lineup? And then I saw Juju like on his flex. And I was like, ooh, I don't like that. And so I told him to get then get this. I told him to get Russell Cage.
Wait, this year?
he hasn't paid dividends either. So now I kind
Uh,
of feel bad for my own friend that tried to rely on me in fantasy before the streams even started.
but to be fair, Juju or Russell probably around the same right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I told them about it too. I was like, take a look at the pecking order of the offense. You have Claypool first, then probably Najee Harris second, then you got maybe Washington third, and
Mm-hmm.
then maybe Claypool is the fourth option. Now I know that we
Yeah.
can also kind of say the same thing about Russell Gage, but we didn't really say that pre-week one. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize that Cordell Patterson was going to be that monster. We didn't realize that Kyle Pitts was
Bro.
still going to grow in the offense as things progress. We didn't know that Calvin Ridley was going to
Yeah.
disappoint. Kind of seems like not that strong of a word at this point.
Yeah. Watching that game was frustrating.
All right. He also says, do you think Randall Cobb is going to have a good game? Thinking about getting him. Good point. Randall Cobb is probably going to be a waiver wire.
Yeah, that's a good point. He really impressed last game. I think he's just when defenses key in on Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams, and Robert Tonyan hasn't had a good year so far. So I think, and he wanted to get Randall Cobb back, right? I think he did.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, he trusts him. So that's a good waiver wire pickup.
I'm trying to think about like what he did for them. Yeah, it was 5 catches for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that concerns me about that, though, is that he's got 9 total catches on the season.
Yeah, it's 1 week he exploded.
Is that a sign of things to come?
What was the
You're
game
going to need
like?
someone else.
Yeah.
You're going to need someone else outside of Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
So
what is he? He's the second receiver, right? Or because I know Scantling, did he get hurt?
And even if it wasn't him, I was also kind of thinking Alan Lazard.
Yeah, they both come out of nowhere,
So like the pecking order for them is still kind of like Adams first, obviously, but then like Aaron Jones probably second, and then it's up for grabs. Like it's like a 4 or 5 way tie for third.
Literally, that offense is hard to read.
It's like outside of Adams, there wasn't a whole lot to trust. And of course you're going to use Aaron Jones for the running game instead of the passing game.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're still going to be waiting for more questions to roll in. Let's see. Okay. So, my question to you.
Mm-hmm.
I probably should have made sure of this before we started the stream, but maybe you can tell me of this offhand. What does your fantasy team look like?
Okay, so I can tell you from what it first looked like. So I drafted Dak thinking, that offense would be like it was last year before he got hurt, and he was on target to break the passing record, and it's good for fantasy. And then I drafted Alvin Kamara thinking that, he was just going to be used because they didn't have Michael Thomas. But somebody came with me with a trade, and I don't know, you can give me your opinion if I should have taken this. Lamar Jackson and Christian McCaffrey. So now, now that Christian McCaffrey got hurt and Lamar Jackson, that offense really hasn't broken out yet, to its full capability. And Dak start off hot, and he's always throwing touchdowns, but I think he had 170 yards last game. It was like a short amount. But then I have DeAndre Hopkins, like I said, he disappointed. And then I have Nick Chubb. This was just like an 8-man league with a bunch of friends. I think it was 8 or 10 with a bunch of friends. And I'm thinking tight end. I tried to pair him with I forgot his name.
Who does he play for?
I don't know why I'm forgetting this. Andrews. There you go, Mark Andrews. So Yeah, I'm over forgot about him. But yeah, him, Koo, I picked up the Broncos defense and Deontay Johnson. So those are my team right now.
Okay. How many leagues are you going to? Just that one?
Oh, I'm in so many. That's why I try to pick the main. Like, you know how when you get bored during drafts, you're excited for football. You just a whole bunch of drafts. I'm like, bro, I got too many, but I'm not trying to lose any of them. So,
Right. I'm in 4 of them, but 2 of them are best ball, so I don't have to worry about the lineups. And then 2 of them are kind of like one is with my friends, but then the other one is with like a subscriber base one, kind of like a Patreon kind of thing. It's with the YouTuber Ryan Moody. I don't know if you know him. He's more does like Madden kind of content. More so like making sure that EA is like held accountable for their stuff because
EA. Yeah, I can't even start on that.
So yeah, I always wanted to support him. Clove says Mike Williams or Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson, and
yeah,
I think
he's being used.
I'm gonna go with the brain again. Ooh, that one hit different. Okay. That one just rushed like directly to the back of my throat. All right. Mike Williams does have upside, but if you're talking about your flex, I don't know what your receiver's looking like, but I'd probably put Mike Williams as like your wide receiver 2, and then Cordero Patterson is probably like your running back 2 or whatever. Like, try to get a way to start both of them because they both have like incredible upside. Because, wait a minute. Mike Williams is going up against Cleveland. What are we thinking now?
After what they did to the Vikings offense, that score was ugly at the beginning. I think it was like the fourth quarter was like 9-7 or something like that.
It was like 8-7, then it was 11-7.
I was like, what kind of score is that? I was like, nobody's scoring. Yeah, exactly. I think Mike Williams. I think Justin Herbert really likes him. He's broken out a lot. I think he had what? There's the other team like 11 receptions, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Was it against the Raiders?
His Kansas City game was insane, and I was trying to listen back, like I said, to some of the other things to some of my other advice that I've given. There was a question that was like, oh hey, should I start Mike Williams or Deebo Samuel? And at the time, like Deebo Samuel was up against Green Bay, and then he was just on a tear, right? So I was like, hey, like ride the hot hand. That's what I was thinking. But then Mike Williams just came out and had his breakout party against Kansas City, of all places, at Kansas City. So I'm like, I'm sorry, crazy. But I wasn't expecting that. So I kind of felt bad about him. But it is what it is, you know? Like, at the end of the day, there's only so much that we can control in terms of
fantasy is crazy.
Who goes well
week to week? Yeah, you can say it, but somebody that you don't expect just goes crazy. You know,
and there's always those tight end vulture or the touchdown vultures that just come out of the woodworks and then just like, hey, I'm gonna take a touchdown. Like Lee Smith against the Giants.
Oh my goodness! That and Sam Darnold, he just took everything that game.
Yeah, Sam Darnold, put him as your running back 1.
But he literally, like.
Yeah, so Clove says Adams and Tyreek Hill are my wide receivers. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I would still go Patterson.
Yeah.
Because if he had that great showing against Washington, Washington's a far better defense than the Jets, mind you. Starting to hiccup. But yeah, the Jets, they play tough. All right, like I'm gonna give Robert Saleh his credit. Like he's making that defense show up to those games.
He is.
So, like I know that Tennessee was without their receivers, but there was no excuses for that offensive line being that bad.
No. None.
You know, it's like you had Taylor Lewan, you had Roger Saffold, you had your Ben Jones, you had your other people. It's just Quinnen and Quincy. That pairing was that good.
Man. Hey.
Mosley was in there. He was getting his
That's making me nervous about this guy. I kind of wish we had the Jets of last year where I think they were in like an engaged 8 when they needed like a touchdown. I wish we had that Jets defense.
Oh man, Greg Williams. Sometimes you save us, and sometimes you just give us gold.
It was hilarious.
I don't know how he still has a job when he was the defensive coordinator for the 0-17 Browns
Yes.
or 0-16 Browns.
About connections. That.
Sometimes your jobs are more about who you know than what you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I told you. So I asked you about yours. I'm gonna give you my two fantasy teams, and we'll see if we can kind of help each other out. You know, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. So in one of my leagues, my starter is Matt Ryan at quarterback. My two wide receivers are Cooper Kupp and Mike Williams. My two running backs are Cordero Patterson and Jonathan Taylor. My tight end is Pitts, and my flex is Emmanuel Sanders. On my bench, I have Chris Carson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Javonte Williams, T. Higgins, and I recently picked up Dawson Knox. I have Matt Prater, the Cardinals kicker, as my kicker, and I have Atlanta's defense because I got that confidence in my team, baby.
Yeah, always do that.
Okay, that was interesting. I think some people are trying to make me drink on purpose over here. So how's Matt Ryan doing in fantasy? He has been doing A-okay. All right. I know that the first week was a bit sluggish, but so far he's been adequate, to say the least. You know, like he's at least the type of quarterback that made me consider, like, oh hey, like, is it gonna be him or is it gonna be Aaron Rodgers? You know, if he's been that type of player for me,
he's doing
then
good.
I think he's been doing fine. You know, it's still about the matchups first for the quarterbacks, but you know, it really makes you think. Cloves also says, is this Knox? Is this Dawson Knox, like the guy I just mentioned, or Pitts? Because I was also kind of thinking about this question too. I'm gonna dig into the brandy. But yeah, this is just the Falcons fan in me. All right. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for Pitt's first touchdown. All right. And I think it can still happen against the Jets.
I say that every week. I'm just saying this is the time. Like, and I thought he had it against Washington. Matt throwing his double cover, but you know, and then against the Giants, he had a chance to, but it was pass interference. So he has to get one. And when he does, I think, you know, his confidence will shoot up. Honestly,
he's gonna have a good snowball effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for people that are complaining, like, oh hey, well, how come you don't target Pitts more? It's like, dude, you've been saying the same thing about Julio Jones. Yeah. All right. And when you run him to the ground like that, you end up with the 2015 season. All right. Sure, you can get him all the production that he wants in the world, but at the end of the day, we still end up 8-8.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's always about your matchups. And I'm not just talking about the defense, but I'm also talking about situational football. You know, like obviously when you're in the red zone as an Atlanta offense, you're expecting Pitts to get the ball. He's been thrown to, you know, it's like it's all a matter of what is the offensive game plan for when we get in the red zone.
Yeah. You
know, and when it comes to that, hey, other people have been able to feast. You know, like we just mentioned, Lee Smith was able to get a touchdown. Alameda Zacchaeus was able to get a touchdown. Mike Davis was able to get a touchdown. Cordero Patterson was able to get a touchdown.
Yeah.
It's, you know, like Ridley and Pitts have been without their first touchdown yet, and we're going into week 5. It's all about the matchups. You know, it's not saying that these players are bad or not that they're not hitting their targets, because like George Kittle isn't also having a touchdown yet. You know, it's not saying that these guys are bad, but it's also saying that, okay, so what is the game plan looking like? Like, what is the play call here? And if he's not catching them, then guess what? Maybe he doesn't deserve it right now. Maybe you go with someone else that can catch the ball. Ridley.
Ridley, please.
Maybe you go with someone else that can catch the ball and make you look good after the throw.
Yeah.
You know, that's why Davis had the touchdown. That's why Patterson had the touchdown.
I think once he catches it, you know, Matt Ryan will get because I feel like him is like comfortability. Like if he sees him, I'm gonna throw it out to him and he'll catch it. He had that not in the red zone because he looked for other people, but with Julio on like third down or Sanu on third down, he looked for them. And I think once he does come down with him, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna throw you another one. I'll throw you another one. You know, like you said, snowball effect.
Like he's got 9 targets against Washington and only caught 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, out of the 42 passing attempts, that's still a good percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, prove it saying tight end production around the race is garbage.
Yeah, if you don't have Kelsey, that's it. Even Kelsey last game, that was interesting.
Yeah, like that game was just 100% Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Hey,
After
if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know.
All right.
But this is something that I've said before. About the pool of talent.
Mm-hmm.
If something's thinner than the other one, get that one first.
Yeah, tight ends.
If you're not confident in the tight end pool, then draft the tight end earlier, and then you're able to get your wide receivers, then you're able to get your running backs, then you're able to get the waiver wire selections, and you're able to get your defenses. And Mike is agreeing with that. It's not that it's garbage; it's just more that it's unpredictable.
Yeah. Unless you have Kittle and Kittle of old, not really this year, but Kelsey, then or Waller, you're gonna get what you can get. But
it's like who was saying before the season started that Dawson Knox was gonna be the breakout tight end?
I know a lot of people.
Who was going to be the one to say that? Oh, hey, like Robert Tonyan is not going to be the good option for you. It's like, wait, what the heck? What are you talking about?
Everybody drafted him high. It's like,
it's like, hey, Jared Cook finally scored, and I didn't really trust the tight end pool for the Chargers. Mm-hmm. I was also kind of thinking that Donald Parham may get some looks too because he's 6'8".
Yeah, dude, 6'8". You gotta get some touchdowns with that, man.
You can't overthrow the dude if he's that tall. I'm sorry. There's no excuse, Justin Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
There's no excuse, Brandon Staley. Or whatever, whoever's calling the plays there. So, I mean, I get it. Like, Mike Williams has done wonders for you, right? Mm-hmm. But come on, man. There's some people that are like counting on other people in this league, and I've yet to say my other league stuff, but I got Austin Eckler in the other one.
He hit for you last week, my boy. I mean, he's just a good running back in general,
right? He was someone that was like projected to go like in the first round, and at first I was thinking, I don't really know about that. Same with Antonio Gibson, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, especially. There's just a couple of running backs. I'm like, really? You're going to draft them that high?
Not in the first round.
No. Like I felt guilty drafting Jonathan Taylor from the first round.
Yeah.
I was always like put in like the 11th spot out of the 12 league team.
I hated that.
So I had that luxury of getting the snake draft, right? But like I would have wanted to be placed at like 4th and then get someone like
even Derrick Henry,
Devontae Adams. Derrick Henry, that's another good option. Christian McCaffrey, I was also going to be like, if I'm in the first spot in the draft, maybe I'm not so confident in him because first of all, I'm a Falcons fan. I don't want division rivals on my team.
Yeah.
And then second of all, he's been injury prone already. Like there's only so long of a lifespan that he's going to have after this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody's
all right, Michael Chapp. He said, I just got Hollywood Brown and Zach Moss. Zach Moss? For Melvin Gordon and Sutton. Did I win? Well, what are your thoughts?
I think just exchanging 2 players, on different teams than 2 players on the same team, like Melvin Gordon and Sutton, you get diversity because the chance of 2 people having a great game is less than 2 people on different teams having better games. So I mean Hollywood, he's like the only receiver on the Ravens right now besides Watkins, but he gets used deep. And Zach Moss is honestly, I mean, the Buffalo backfield is kind of hard to center who's going, because sometimes Singletary gets it, but Zach Moss will get the red zone carry. So I think he won. I think he
won. What is the Broncos bye week? That's all I'm concerned about, because I'm also really curious about, like, okay, like if you get too many players on the same team, that means that you're just gonna accept the loss at that point, because then at that point, like, your whole team is gonna have to change if you're really trying to prepare for every single week.
Yep.
So I'm gonna take a look and see where the Broncos bye week happens. I'm going into week 6. I still see a Broncos game. Going into week 7, I still see a Broncos game. Going on to week 8. Still see a game. Week 9. And then you also got to figure out, like, okay, so what are the matchups moving forward? Like, take a look at the schedule. If you have so many players on the same team, like, are you confident in Teddy Bridgewater to the point where you can get a guy like Sutton? Because I've said this before, like, it's also about a matter of, like, who's throwing to him.
Yeah.
All right, proof it says Sutton or Corey Davis. I can't remember what I drank last time, and I have Long Island iced tea because I have more of it.
Corey Davis. Well.
My body is feeling heavy, by the way. Okay, so Sutton is up against the Broncos have. Who the heck are the Broncos facing in week 5? Okay, yeah, the Steelers. Teddy Bridgewater did not have that great of a game against the Ravens. And if you think the Steelers are the better defense than the Ravens, which I'm one of those people that agrees, then he might have a worse showing.
Yeah.
Whereas with Davis, Dean Pease has said it himself, like, he doesn't like his corners to travel. And that can only mean so many things for AJ Terrell, right? So if that's the case, then you're going to try to put Corey Davis in a situation where he's up against Fabian Moreau or he's up against Avery Williams. And I want good things to happen for these players, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But they haven't shown it to me.
Nah, especially McLaurin, what he did to Monroe. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mentioned this on my article. Like, on that touchdown that he gave out to McLaurin, like, I think he was expecting a double move, but he wasn't. But he didn't get it. And if you're playing trail technique, have the speed to do so. He doesn't have that speed to really keep up with the guy as quick as McLaurin.
Yeah. Know which receiver you're guarding.
What's going on, Millie Mills? You shot me out. I'm gonna shot you up too. Yeah, that's why I had to spread it out. Oh, well, plus I like Hollywood's upside. He's been amazing so far. Yeah, I don't know how much to invest in that touchdown catch that he had against Denver, because right now he is up against. Let's see. He's up against Indianapolis. Okay, so maybe next week is going to be the week where maybe he doesn't show his full potential. Right now, I still like the look. But as far as like who you have aside from him, that's a different story. All right, so Bossman Fat says, who wins this trade? Trace Edmonds for Melvin Gordon and Laviska Shenault, PPR. Is okay, first of all, I am comfortably numb, by the way. Is Chase Edmonds really worth that much? James Conner has been getting all the touchdowns.
Yeah. Man, that week I started on DraftKings and Connor just vultured all those red zone carries. had 2 touchdowns from it. So
especially against Jacksonville. But yeah. Let's see. He's up. They're up against against the 49ers. Did Chris Carson have that good of a game? I don't really think so.
Nah. I think it was really, really bad. I think I saw him. He's
like Seattle didn't look all that consistent either. Like, don't let the scoreboard for you. Like Seattle didn't look all that great.
No, none.
Freddie Swain really bailed out Russell Wilson on that one throw.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, like that's Russell Wilson's game plan. That's what he's been known for.
Known for that.
So, as far as getting Melvin Gordon and Laviska Shenault, heck, like get 2 for 1, if you can.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I've mentioned Laviska Shenault before, and I'm really starting to see improvement from Jacksonville, despite Urban Meyer and all his doings with the Tony Hawk grinding, but minus the Tony Hawk.
That was like, what the?
So, Michael Chapp says, I got Hollywood and Zach Moss. Outside of, I think this was his flex. Not so sure. I'm trying to go back to his further comments, and I don't really see it. Yeah, I still like, I don't know, Hollywood Brown or Zach Moss right now this week.
This week, I mean, I usually just start the guy that has the potential to take, 1 reception for 60 yards and a touchdown, Yeah, I would just do Hollywood this week. Is Zach Moss, what's going on with that backfield? Is it Devin Singletary or is it Zach Moss? Or are they just splitting carries straight down the middle?
It's kind of a committee, but Devin Singletary is still the starter.
Okay. Yeah, I would probably go Hollywood this week then.
Yeah, definitely Davis for the rest of the season. Wait a minute.
Is he talking about Corey Davis?
I don't really know. There's a lot of Davises with the last.
Yeah.
So, Millie Mills says Mike Davis, Tyler Boyd, or Emmanuel Sanders for flex. I don't really know what I end up with. I'm gonna have the brandy. Oh. All right, I finished the brandy. Okay. Mike Davis, Tyler Boyd, or Emmanuel Sanders. If you trust the Bills' offense, then maybe go with Emmanuel Sanders. That's what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And I'm not putting Emmanuel Sanders at the flex. I'm putting him as like wide receiver 2. So, I like Stephon Diggs and I like Cole Beasley, but I also like the upside that Emmanuel Sanders gives in regards to Tyler Boyd that's going up against that Packers secondary, which is improving, by the way.
Yeah,
and Mike Davis, he really hasn't proven his worth right now in terms of fantasy production, but in his in-game production, he's kind of been a victim to the prediction of what Atlanta's been running.
Yep.
I'm going to ask you this question. All right, I already know the answer, but out of all the first downs that we've had against Washington, how many times do you think that we ran the ball?
4.
Okay, we had 28 first downs. And we ran on 18.
We had that many first downs?
Yeah, we had 28 first down plays. All right, and we ran the ball on 18 of them.
Really?
Yes.
In this offense?
I looked at the play-by-play. All right, so if you don't count the last drive of the game, which was that desperation attempt in order to win the game, that was 27 times on first down where we ran the ball for 18 of them. That's a 66% chance that we ran the ball on first down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but that's terrible. That is way too predictable. Why do you think that Mike Davis didn't run that well? Because he kept getting the ball on first down to the point where Washington already knew what they were going to do.
That's why I think I was just so traumatized by the play calling at the end of the game. I was like, oh, we can't get the first, so we ain't run for it. Obviously, we had to pass most of them, but yeah, that is predictable. I mean, I was just wondering why Arthur Smith didn't call play action. You know, the defense is stacking the box. You could get them over the top. They're all stacking the box. Just run play action.
Michael Chapp is saying he's only a flex Hollywood Brown. I have Diggs and Keenan as my two wide receivers. Well, you did a good job in there in your draft right there.
Yeah, you definitely do.
I'm seeing no, he doesn't. No, he not. I'm not. What were you trying to say? Prove it. I think that you're trying to say that I was wrong in something. Okay. Westman fan says Chase Edmonds has 0 touchdowns, but he averages 16 PPR. Okay. If that's the case, let's see. Let's go back. What was his initial question? Chase Edmonds from Melvin Gordon and Laviska Shenault. Oh, let's see. If Chase Edmonds averages 16 in the PPR, let's see. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Because I am having a hard time focusing.
Chase Edmonds, you know, he's somebody that, you know, can catches the ball. I think he gets like 6 targets, something like that. So he's definitely reliable in PPR. You want that. It's just I don't understand that whole backfield whenever they get in the red zone. Just Connor gets all the work, and you know. But I think if you do get lucky and Edmonds just scores a touchdown, he'll definitely hit for that day.
Okay, he's also trying to say that the trade didn't happen, but he's just wanting to know like the thoughts on the upside of this. Like, is it a good idea to get Melvin Gordon and Laviska Shenault in order to get Chase? I still think that. Okay, so if Chase Edmonds provides you 16 points 16 fantasy points in PPR leagues, right? Do you think that Melvin Gordon and Laviska Shenault can at least average out 8 apiece in order to at least match it?
Has Javonte Williams' workload been increasing every week?
They've kind of been split, honestly.
Yeah. I think I'm higher on Edmonds than a lot of people is. But I do agree too, player. It just depends who your other players are, you know. I don't think Edmonds is really gonna, you know, win you a week by himself, but you know, he just has that potential to, you know, break out every now and then.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's not just the ceiling, it's also the floor.
Yeah.
Does Edmonds provide you a better floor than Melvin Gordon and Laviska Shenault combined?
Nah.
So if that's the case, maybe you make the trade for Edmonds.
Yeah.
Because that's what he's trying to do.
Who else does he have at wide receiver? You know, is he giving away like, you know? Because I mean, Melvin Gordon for me, I think he's having a better year than I would have thought, especially with them drafting Javonte Williams in the second round. So, but you know, Javonte, I feel like, did you see that run last week that he had against the Ravens?
Yeah,
ran over like you running angry. I think he's trying to earn his workload.
Yeah, prove up a good point. You're going to need 3 or 4 backs for the season, which is why it's always a good idea to draft the running backs first in your fantasy leagues.
Always.
Yeah, because there's always going to be more depth. There's always going to be at least more surprises in depth for the wide receiver group. You know, if you're one of those people that drafted like one of like EJ Brown or Julio Jones for the Titans, and then you gotta wonder like, oh hey, like is Nick Westbrook? I don't know what the
Goodness.
second half of his name was, or like Chester Rogers.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's when you know that you're really kind of like you drafted too high, at least for those positions.
Yeah, I saw Julio taking like the fifth round. I was like, what the? I just
Yeah, like who really won the trade, man? Because I saw Calvin Ridley still being drafted in like the second round on average. You know, and I've been a part of 4 leagues. Who really won that trade?
I personally think, if it just depends what, people think which direction this team's going. But to get a second round pick, I think the Falcons, Calvin Ridley is doing his own thing, but Julio's not even, you saw what the Titans coach said about him week 1, he's not really being used, and he's also dealing with that hamstring injury. So I think we did the right thing, in my opinion.
Well, obviously he'll want it out. So like the discussion should have been over by the way. I'm tired of seeing all these people. It's like, man, maybe we should have traded Ridley instead of Julio. I was like, no, that wasn't the issue. The issue wasn't that one of them had to go. It wasn't a salary cap issue. It was like a personal issue or something. It was like Julio wanted out, and so he got out.
Yeah.
So we at least fulfilled that for him.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be over here and saying that Atlanta doesn't care about its players, then you're wrong.
They offered him a humongous contract, and he got another one for the Titans.
And I think he took it, and then still got traded.
Yeah, he took it and ran with it. Like, I'm getting paid double.
I don't think Tennessee gives him that contract.
Nope.
I think that conversation's already been done and dealt with. So
that was a generous contract by the play.
All right, Millie Mills. Goodness gracious, I'm about to have a hard time waking up for work tomorrow.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Do you trust Pittman Jr. versus Ball? Wait a minute. What kind of trade is this? Do you trust Pittman Jr. versus Baltimore's defense? What?
I would say that Pittman is one of the only receivers in that offense as far as somewhat consistent.
Well,
I don't trust him.
But I said this before. Like Zach Pascal is one of the has been like one of the driving forces of the red zone. And then if it's not that, like in between the 20s, like Jonathan Taylor's really being trusted with.
Yeah.
Or it's like Nyheim Hines or something like that. In terms of who's going to get you more fantasy points this week, I know the Colts offense looked okay against Miami, but okay is not enough against the Ravens. So I don't really know what kind of trade that you're asking for, Millie Mills, but if you had to choose one, then I guess the Baltimore's defense would get you more fantasy points for this week at least. Proven saying Chase Edmonds may not be worth 2 players. It's all about the floor. Sometimes it's not about the ceiling. Can't trust Chenault every week though. Yeah, that was one of the misses that I had before week 1 started. I was trying to say like, okay, like what would the players to watch out for? And I remember saying Laviska Shenault for the wide receivers position, just for the simple fact that, like Travis Etienne was out before week 1 even happened. And if I'm looking at last year's examples, like if I'm looking at last season's production, Laviska Shenault was still getting a lot of targets. Like for me, like that was, and you add a rookie quarterback to that wants to get the easy plays. I thought that Laviska Shenault was going to give you the easy plays, If you want to throw to DJ Chark, if you want to throw to Marvin Jones, those are the more advanced plays. But Laviska Shenault can act as that wide receiver, or can act as that H-back position. He can act as that flex. He can act as the do-it-all kind of weapon.
Yeah.
But that hasn't really happened yet. So you really got to hope for the long term that Trevor Lawrence and the rest of the offense can really turn it around. I'm not trying to blame Trevor Lawrence for it because I think it's more Urban Meyer, but sometimes it's like, hey, whatever hand you're dealt with, you got to deal with it. Prove It says Denver about to lean on these backs and tight end. Wait, tight end Melvin Gordon gets it. What? Again, please be more sober than me. What are you saying, tight end Melvin Gordon? I don't know how to read this comment, man. Chad Etheridge saying Atlanta defense is a joke. Well, it's not going to be the punchline anymore as long as the defense really learns what Dean Pease is trying to sell them.
Yeah.
Prove It saying I would trade for Ridley right now, buy low. Who do you think would be a good substitute for Ridley? Like if you have Ridley on your fantasy team and you're trying to get rid of him because you don't really trust him at this point, who would you try to get? It's got to be equal value, because you're probably drafting Ridley in like the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's a.
The Nation says if I trade Ridley, I need 2 players.
Yeah, because Ridley hasn't even hit near his ceiling yet. He's not getting any touchdowns. He's dropping a lot of potential passes. He's getting targeted quite a bit. So, you would definitely have to get somebody good.
I've said this in my article too. Like if y'all haven't checked out my article, it took me it was such a mess in order to get this finally uploaded onto the website. But if you haven't checked it out yet, I typically try to post this big old breakdown of what the heck happened during the game and try to give you a film study on it. I don't know if you've really seen it yet, but yeah, that's one of my specialties. Is I'm trying to dissect the game and try to figure out what the heck was going on. And
you helped me realize a lot of things with that article that I didn't see. Like that blocking at the eye. And it was a really good design play. It just whipped on that block. And you go back and look at it.
Yeah. Anytime that you have I want to say that you're talking about like the 4-minute offense in the last part of the game. Okay. Yeah. Anytime that you have Montez Sweat facing the tight end in terms of the blocking scheme, I'm sorry. I don't care if that's Rob Gronkowski. He's not going to be able to block him. So what the heck was that play call?
I have no idea.
You were trying to get Keith Smith to block the linebacker. Yeah, I understand that. You're trying to get Jake Matthews to block the safety or the corner. I understand that. But your plan failed when you tried to rely on Kyle Pitts to block Montez Sweat. Most tackles in the league can't block Montez Sweat. So how do you expect tight end? How do you expect the receiving tight end to get him?
That play call, man.
Obviously hindsight is 20/20. But at the end of the day, you really got to figure out like what is going to get you the yards. All right. And when you're in that situation, sometimes it's not just a matter about running out the clock. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting the first down first. Right. You got to use whatever play to get you the first down. If that's a play action play, get it. That's your bread and butter to Calvin Ridley. That's your bread and butter to Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
So why did you abandon it?
I mean, they saw it last
when
game.
When it could have worked. I told you the amount of times where we only had like 9 passes out of the 27 first downs that we were given.
Yeah, I would have never guessed
that. That is ridiculous.
I think.
All right. The Nation says because this team won't stay in the slump forever, Coach Smith has way too much to lose. Yeah, that's true. I'm just weighing flex options. Okay, so he was trying to say about. Wait a minute. How the heck do you have a defense as a flex option? What kind of league are you in?
Hey, some commissioners be sneaky and they just trying to put it in anything.
I'm drunk and that doesn't make sense. Okay, let's see. Prove says he trades Sutton for Ridley straight up. Okay. If you're sticking this far around, if you've already read my article, then here's something that I gotta say right away. All right, because let's say that Calvin Ridley doesn't work out for us in our offense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yes. and I mentioned this before in terms of the comparison. Right, sometimes the shoe just doesn't fit, no matter how much you like the shoe.
Yep.
If we're before week 8 and Ridley still isn't the answer,
right,
I am calling up Denver and I'm trying to see if I can get Tim Patrick. What do you think?
Yeah. If we drafted in the first round. If you Ridley, it's just in this offense.
I'm not talking about fantasy. I'm talking about the roster.
Yeah.
Move. I'm saying trade Ridley away and then get Cortland or Tim Patrick in Atlanta.
Would you get a draft pick or is it just like would you have an extra draft pick with that? Maybe like a 4?
I think that you can still be fine with a straight up pick. Maybe you trade like late round picks.
Yeah,
maybe this is just drunk me saying this, but
I think
let me know if I don't make sense.
I think Ridley, if he can learn to hate content, which isn't something you could really learn, it's just a mindset and mentality. Ridley definitely has better potential than Tim Patrick, but Tim Patrick is underrated, definitely. But if Ridley's not going to, like you said in the article, not go up and get these extra yards, be scared of contact, you're not going to fit in Arthur Smith's offense. So, yeah. I mean, Tim Patrick, if you can get him, he's cheap, Ridley's going to have a contract, extension soon. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that, especially if you can get like a 4th or 5th.
You're going to get Tim Patrick for cheap, first of all. You can't get Ridley for cheap anymore. How's it going, Miss Maggie?
What's up? I know you didn't see the chat, but I just wanted to interrupt because I know how you say your name again?
Daivon.
Mm-hmm. He basically said he had to leave in a few minutes, so I just wanted to let you know. I didn't know if you paid attention to the messages. So
yeah, I kind of did.
Okay.
I'm sorry I kept you too long.
I just step out for a little bit. I can come back if you're still on.
Okay. I can't keep it any longer than 2 hours. All right, okay. And we're already at the hour and 22 minute mark.
It's been an hour 22 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. What's up, Jay? As soon as I get on here, but hey. All right, but yeah, he just needed to go ahead and I didn't know if he saw the messages now. So I'm in the back, people. What's going on? Prove it. What's up, everybody? What's up, Millie Mills? Appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. It's late. I know. It's late for me.
All right. I mean, if you gotta go, then
yeah, I'm gonna try to get back on. I know it's 2 hours and stuff like that, but yeah, this was really fun, man.
Yeah, appreciate you joining in with me.
Yeah, I'm definitely
to be all by myself.
Hey, man, try it. People, everybody don't ask so much more fantasy questions. Are you almost done with those 2 cups?
Well, I got a lot in this one, and I got like next to nothing in the whiskey.
Oh,
but if the questions keep coming, and I got to keep drinking. So,
hey, man, you have a good night.
People aren't really like saying questions, right?
Yeah, they're just like
right.
They're just more comments than anything.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Millie Mills. I'm just in the back. I'm producing. I don't be on this thing that often. I'm here in the back though. Appreciate y'all. I'm still here, just in the back. Yeah, subscribe to Miss Maggie T. That's right, Matt Mike. Do it. I'm gonna start interrupting y'all show.
It's okay.
So, hey, if you're tuning in, please give a big round of applause for Daivon.
All right, thank you.
All right, I want to see that in the chat. All right, because if you're gonna be here for the long haul, at least for my stream, which It doesn't get a whole lot of live live people. More
Mhm.
so gets a lot of views afterwards. But make sure that you tune into him on his Speak Up Falcons content. He's going to
Mhm.
have his reviews and whatnot. Oh, yeah. By the way, before you leave,
Yeah.
in your description,
Mhm.
you said conspiracies.
I look. I want to get around to that. I do like talking about, conspiracy theories, but
What's an
it's a hot
example that
topic to talk.
they can look forward to?
Okay, so I don't want to creep you out, be like a weirdo, but stuff like aliens, Illuminati. Just, I mean, there's that, but then there's even conspiracy theories like the new Netflix show Squid Games. There's just different conspiracy theories about what the old man, was he really this or this, and did is he the son? I'm not trying to spoilers and stuff like that. People haven't watched it, but yeah,
I haven't
so
watched it,
stuff
but
like that. It's a good
okay,
show,
so you're
man.
trying to take over Matt Pat. Okay.
It's a great show. You should watch it, bro.
All right. So, hey, if you're into whatever he's putting down, all right, make sure that you keep him in your radar at least.
Thank you, Mad
No?
Mike.
So, yeah, if you gotta go, you can go at any time.
Like that.
Don't worry, I'll be holding on.
Okay, I'll try to get back, but everybody have a good night, and thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah. So tune in next week, and you'll see more of them.
Definitely.